Oh, final exam. It's time to go. Sad. So the final exam, there's three parts. You only have to do two. One is the practice exam. It's multiple choice at your leisure. Do it if you want to practice. The final exam itself is a multiple choice. Oh, you guys see more than what I have. The final exam is a multiple choice. Let me go to student view. And what that does is it's 50 questions, 50 minutes, open book. A lot of them look familiar or feel familiar, but they are pulled from a big pool of questions, like 1,000 questions. So you chances of seeing the same question is pretty low. Um, you have to do both parts of the final. What I mean by that is you have to do your multiple choice exam and you have to do the final lab. Final exam, lab's on here. So let's talk about this. View the instructions. You'll see the instructions. The PDF and the doc is the same. It is, you need to write a fun-filled trivia game. Here's the requirements. Mainline logic, error handling. Mainline logic implies a custom function. So def something, do something, right? Header, comments, global or local variables, at least one custom function, use of a complex object, a list, tuple, or dictionary, and at least one looping function, a while or for. Relatively simple. There's there's 4 or 5 questions down here on how you want to design it, how you want to set it up. Use the template, name it 2252 underscore first initial last name underscore final dot py. That's it. Turn it in. I grade it. You win. This is where you want to flex. This is where you want to put yourself to test. I highly encourage using code you've already written. So if you wrote good functions from lesson 5 to now, reutilize them, right? That's it. It's really not that bad. What can the trivia be on? Anything. People have done computer science questions, planet questions, hacker questions, movie questions, comic books, you name it. I've seen it over the years. What this proves to yourself and me is that you could critically think about the design of this script, use complex objects, and interact with the user and generate output, counters, etc. Pretty cool stuff. Any questions on the final? 2 pieces, multiple choice, final, and then the lab. I see the. It's fun. I mean, could you leverage AI to do this for you? Totally. Give me 5 questions on X, Y, and Z. Could you take a step further and say, give me a dictionary object with X, Y, and Z questions for about Y? Or yeah, totally. Um, I honestly don't care how you generate the questions. What I do care about is if you understand the requirements, you take the time to critically think about the design and meet the requirements, kick a whole bunch of butt. That's it. And Chris already accomplished this, so let everyone congratulate Chris. You got the PCEP, right?
Yep, the entry level one.
Which is where we're at, which proves to the world that you know what you're talking about. And they just go up from there. They get insane. That's awesome. Look at that. Expert salary right there. Boom, highest paid. Down here's the syllabus for it somewhere. I always do this. It's right in front of me. Yeah, the exam syllabus. I went over this before, but I'll do it again. The syllabus itself looks a lot like the core concepts that we've covered. Strings, booleans, if-elses, for whiles, etc. So I'm not saying this class will set you up for success on this, but the book heavily aligns with this material. And if you've did well in this course and put forth the effort, this certification should be mildly difficult at best, right? So, and they have like practice exams and stuff available. So that's an option. Super cool stuff. Yeah. So Yeah, multiple choice. So let's talk about multiple choice in a question, right? If you built a list of lists and you use like slicing or something, you could use a list, your first list within that list, object zero. So 00 would be your question. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 would be your multiple choices. And then you could just mark one special, like an asterisk for the winner. And you could present those however you want. Like using slicing, you could generate them and write them to the screen. You could use a dictionary. And dictionary is a key value pair. You have a key with many values, right? So question, many answers, and one of them be correct. Um, you could do two lists, a list of 4 or 5 questions, right? 0 through 4, which is questions. Questions equal here by questions in a list. Then you have answers in a list, which are lists of question or answers that match your question. So indices 0 and indices 0 in the other list, 0 is the answers for 0 question. You get tricky with this. You could do there's like 3 ways to solve it, more than that. Um, you could go old school, just do all strings. Um, yeah, there's a lot of fun ways you could do it, honestly. But it's up to you, and definitely pivot to let's just do one. Let's just go. I'm just gonna use Google. I'm gonna go AI mode. I'm gonna say generate me a small 3 question um, multiple choice. And it doesn't have to be in order, right? Multiple choice, possibly dictionary. Total points, I just go rounds, counter equals 0 every time they get one right, counter +1, else don't add anything. You could do it that way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it. Joe, be a small 3 question multiple choice script, Python, and you can even do this. Stick within PSEP guidelines and functions. So now I've given it constraints. I said, this is your knowledge gap. This is the best thing you're going to do. And here you go. Look, I made a dictionary. Dictionary with the list as, excuse me, so it made a list with dictionaries. That's cool. It's another way you can do it. Pretty cool. This is just one of 10 bajillion. You can do it 1,000 different ways. So I'll go over enumerate. We haven't covered enumerate. Enumerate pulls the index and the object from your list. It's kind of a intermediate, uh, end to beginner, early intermediate type thing. And the rest is just, you got less than 50 lines of code there. Not bad. Now, I'm not saying do this. I'm saying write one yourself, drag and drop your code into here, and then say, hey, polish this up for me, X, Y, and Z. Use it as a scripting partner, not as a 100% make believer, right? You learn nothing that way, and you don't prove to yourself anything. There's smarter ways to leverage this, is what I'm saying. Why is it important to learn the fundamentals? Throw that in YouTube. Type that in YouTube. Why should I learn how to code in 2026? You're going to get thousands of videos on why it's still important. AI slop. Uh, 2025, a bunch of programmers got laid off. By the end of 2025, more than they laid off got hired. Just how it is. You need people to code and understand all this new layer of AI. It just doesn't work on its own yet. But even when that happens, you still need people to manage and give it guardrails. It's not going to guardrail itself, right? So this is some fun stuff you could do. So let's talk about enumerate, man. I think I got an example here somewhere. I mean, we could just write one. I could just write one. Thought I had one. Man, my eyes getting better. What? We'll open this one. Yeah, so here we go. Boom. So let's just run this. Boom. So what enumerate does. So you see this list up here. Python for beginners, Do droids dream of electric sheep? So I have a list with 3 items. For each index in my book, enum my list. So what this is going to do, enumerate, grabs object 0, throws 0 in the index variable, and then takes the actual object and throws it in book. Enumerate grabs the index and the object from a list, and then all I do is call on them and say, hey, print my index and the book, and this is what the output looks like. For index 0, book is it, index 1, Python for beginners, index 2, do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. Does anyone know what movie was made off the book, do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep? Instant A if you know. No Googling. Blade Runner.
I would
Blade
have never
Runner.
guessed that.
Yeah. Blade Runner was a book written, do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, Philip K. Dick. It's awesome. Cool. So that's enumerate. That's a fancier thing that's not in your book that you're going to see in the real world. You might as well see it now. And now in walks with. So with, it's a context manager. So the cool thing about how we open up files now is we use open, call on our file, give it a mode, do some methods to it, then we close the file. It works. It's fine. With is a context manager. It's like with in this context, perform this, and then done. It gets you a couple things. With coupled with open, same thing, file and how as fin. So now you open this words to as the variable fin. So it's available. And then you say fin.write like normal. It'll say used with. And then when this script block is done, it closes the file for you. With gains you that secure close or guaranteed close for the most part. So this is the more Pythonic way of doing it since like Python 3.7, I think, or something. I don't, maybe even earlier than that. But with is pretty awesome. We got to stick it with. Pretty cool. Yeah, it is. With is, you'll see it everywhere. Now, Lambda. Lambda is a mentality. Lambda is an expression. What does that mean? Lambda is literally some type of expression followed by what fills in those variables. It's when you want to do something quickly and it's kind of like a portable constant function that you don't have to call on. It's a part of it. So this is what we usually do, right? Define a function, give it 3 arguments. Then when you call on that function, you give it the parameters, it adds those up and it'll generate 11. The output will be 11. Every time you want to do this, do you want to call on function, do this? Or do you just want to say total lambda x equals x, y equals y, z equals z, right? And then you say colon x plus y plus z. So literally you're saying 1 plus 17 plus 3, and then it outputs 21. The cool thing about this is you could use these inside functions. So technically you could replace this print function with lambda if you wanted to, right? But lambdas are these constants that you don't have to worry about writing a whole function. And did I indent it right? Do I need a doc string? If it's not that important and you just need to get something done quickly, that's a consistent expression. Lambda's your choice, right? The more you start to try to fit them into your code, the more they make sense, honestly. And this right here can literally be any expression. It could be anything, which is kind of awesome. And this sets up your arguments and parameters. This is your expression, and then it just does the output. We'll run it, right? Hit F5. Boom, 21, like that, right? Takes your variables, throws in your variables, performs this expression, prints your total, you're done. It makes more sense in a bigger script when you find yourself calling on a function that adds things over and over again and all your other functions. You go, man, why don't I just use lambda? Done. A little quicker. Pretty cool. Um, I don't think I have these installed properly, but we'll give it a go. I don't think this will run because I don't think I have Nmap installed, or Nmap is this obviously network mapper. Um, a lot of cool Kali Linux driven tools, or like cyber tools, or just tools in general. A lot of those GUIs have Python modules that you could either download separately or install along when you install the GUI. And what you get is a way to interact with that tool without starting the GUI. So does this thing work? No, okay, no module named mmap. Okay, should I install it? I don't know, let me see. So this will fail too because I got a bunch of Pythons installed, but let me exit this. Let's just do it. Pip install nmap and see if that works. Nope, Eric couldn't find it, right? So how do we do this? Well, now you go out and just download nmap, install it, and let's do it. Let's try it. This is all live, by the way. Like I didn't plan on this. Nmap, download, Windows. Yeah, download free map. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do this. RPM, Linux, Mac, open source code, other operating systems, Microsoft Windows. Where we at? Windows guy. Okay, so user port, TCP time. Okay, Wireshark. I would like to thank installer nmap. No, zip. Download the zip binaries, extract the zip file, improve performance. I'm not gonna do this, but you can do it, right? Download the zip file, install it, boom, get your nmap thing. Let's simulate we have nmap installed. So import nmap works. You do a dir on nmap, it'll list you all the methods, and you'll see that nmap is chock full of methods, and one is port scanner. And port scanner has sub methods, right? So now I can call on nmap port scanner, give it a list of ports that I want it to scan, give it a target, and let it rip. And it'll targets an IP. It'll use that IP to check if those ports are open. It'll tell you open or not, depending on how you develop your code down here. I'll put the stuff in the announcements. So a lot of these tools have these Python modules that you can script and automate. That's pretty cool, right? If you're using Kali Linux, most of them, or Parrot OS, or that other one, I can't remember. A lot of these tools are already there, and you can interact them just with Python, and you don't even have to mess with the GUI. And that what that allows for you to do is automate a ton. Just let your mind wander for a minute. Like you could say, ping every machine in this text file on my desktop. If ping equals true, perform nmap scan. If port is open, send it to Metasploit with exploit X, run it, blah, 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 right? If vulnerability is found with OpenVAS, exploit via whatever. So you could chain all these tools together via a script and technically automate a pen test, or some of it. You know, there's still a lot of human interaction still. Well, depends what you're using, but there's still a lot of thought and technique into pen testing, right? Mostly, sort of. But does that help? Is this kind of cool? Like where you could take this stuff next? Cool.
Yeah, it does.
And then, a couple modules that you really should learn. is OS, sys, and requests. JSON, of course, allows you a bunch of tools to what do you call it, to interact with the JSON object types. JSON is nothing more than a dictionary of dictionaries. Key value pairs with other key value pairs, right? Complex object. But once you learn how to traverse the JSON files or your JSON file, it's not that bad. Requests allows you to interact with making web requests. If you request something from a website, it responds back and you can store that response somewhere. System, I'll just show you system and OS because they're very important. So let's import OS. I'll do a dir on OS. So guess what? OS allows you to interact with the OS. Truncate thing. Where's the fun ones? Process open, make directory, is directory, a bunch of environment variables. Well, those are pretty much the ones that you always use. You could change directory, chmod if you need to, you can force close something. The list is it's fun. List the directory so you can list everything in a directory, or list the directories, I should say. Then there's also things like import sys, which is pretty common. You do a dir on sys. This one, you can interact with the system. You can get like versions of operating systems. You can check to see what type operating system it is. You control standard in, standard error. You can kind of redirect some stuff when you're using scripts. Check the version. I think there's even like processor or something in here. Platform. Platform will tell you like things about the chipsets. Um, it's awesome, right? And it's built into Python. You just have to import it. So that's kind of cool. Let's do JSON just for fun. And this is all like bonus stuff. You don't really have to use it anywhere. This is just things I think getting out in the real Python world that you should be import JSON. What do I do? Oh yeah. Geez, oh man. It's been that type of day. So dir on JSON. And now I could do dump, uh, dump, load, encoder, loads. It'll make sense when you work with the object. Let me show you an example of let's just do example JSON file. Perfect. Looks a lot like a dictionary, but you can see that it has another object down here, budget null. So in this first section, there's one subnode within JSON, an object, and down here there's another one called budget. You can call on it by ID. You could, it feels a lot like a dictionary. And here, when you call on contact, contact has other fields, email and phone. So it's like a dictionary with it's like a key with other key values inside of it. It's a bit more complex than your standard dictionary, is what I'm saying. But once you understand the data, like how it comes back or you receive it, either from a database, a web call, anything. Once you look at it, you can see how to traverse it. You can just walk right through it. Not too bad, right? So there's a separated by commas, name value pairs, blah, 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 holds an object, brackets hold arrays. That's about it. A lot, you can get really complex looking JSON, but at the end of the day, it's just an object with other objects. That's it. And JSON was a big push during Web 3.0. Web 1, Web 2, Web 3.0 is like plain text HTML, move to XML, XML move to JSON. It's less typing for scripters and coders and programmers and all kinds of stuff. And plus, it still keeps your data in nice little objects and chunks, but it's a lot less typing than XML. Like if we just go up here and do a example XML file, you'll see that you'll see all these brackets everywhere. Same thing, key value, key value, key value, except your key is a tag with the value, and then you have to close the tag. You could do this same thing, do this file in JSON. Let's see. So here it is in JSON, right? Way more legible. cleaner, less typing, less prone to human error, really easy for machines to read. That's why JSON is predominantly awesome, right? And a lot of things since then kind of copy JSON. You'll have YAML, Yara, what's that? TOML, yeah, and there's other ones, but they look and feel sort of like JSON, like, right? So I hope that helps, right? Oh, there's some file types that you'll see. Can you show me this in TOML format? It's like, why would you want to do that? But TOML's a little different, but very similar, more flat, right? But those are just different file extensions or file types or object types, depending on how you want to look at it. They could be all three. Um, so when you get data back from something, don't be afraid. Just grab a portion of it, throw it in your artificial intelligence, be like, what type of file does this look like? And it'll tell you like, oh, it's JSON, oh, it's TOML. All the if it doesn't have a file extension, right? Most of them come with file extensions like JSON or whatever, but you get it. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So I know we covered a lot over this semester in a very short period of time. Um, I know it's not easy. Finding time to be your best self, allowing you to be good. Um, don't stop here. If you're passionate about something, put in the passion, right? Put in the time. Um, I appreciate being your instructor. I really do. I love showing up. Um, I love sharing my experiences with this stuff with other people just coming up. I think it's kind of my duty because people did that to me, right? It's only fair. Uh, well, I'll open up the floor for any questions about any topics in Python. Anyone?
Question. How do we know? How can we? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. How can we tell if something's faster than another? So like, let's just say an if
Cool.
statement versus a while statement, or trying to compare how much a function actually runs.
So Python has a built-in debugger. It's the PDB. I think I could just import it if I remember correctly. There's other ways to do it though, but this comes up often, right? And PDB has all these functions that you can read about: signal, test, token, inspect. Glob is an object format. We can talk about that. You could spend 2 weeks of your life learning how to use this module. You don't have to be successful with Python. It's helpful. But if we flip back over here, we say, hey, in Python, other than module PDB, what is a good way to test speed and processor usage um, of a .py script? Now you're going to get a few. Let's see what it gives back. This is Google, so Google's C profile time limit. So this is in Bash how to do it. It'll tell you all kinds of stuff, right? Small script snippets. Time it. Looks like there's a module called time it. Oh, it's built in. I never used it. Print time it dot time it, and then whatever your script is or your function. So technically, you could wrap your entire main function inside this and say print time it dot time it in your main function. That's okay. I don't know. I never used it, but I mean, could be cool. Um, line profiler is pretty decent. I've used this before. And a decorator is just before your function. And then you run it via terminal. Um, this is the more common way. PSU2 will gather the RAM stuff, and you could gather your CPU and RAM. But Here's what you don't want to do. If you use like, we'll just say PCUtil, you want to build a function in your script or another function or a class and call it debugger or debug mode, and then run that script in that mode to use PSUtil to give you the output of the CPU or memory usage. You don't want that always to run when just people just run it, right? Because it itself uses processor and memory. You see how that works? It's negligible, but it's still part of the process, right? It's because it's inside Python. So when you use Python to gauge itself, it's kind of weird. Bash, Bash is probably the go-to, like for a quick down and dirty easy. Well, you got the Windows system or the Linux system, Linux subsystem for Windows, or Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL or WL, I can't remember the name of it. But technically, you could run Bash on a Windows system. You could run it a couple ways actually, and use cProfile to do that as well. A lot of people just import time and do like a time start, time end, time minus time, and then just tell you how long it took to run. That's not really a measure of processing power. It's just how long it took, right? You could be using 1% of your CPU, 1% of your RAM, or you could be using 100% of both. Time won't tell you that, right? So keep in mind, you could use a date time low budget to get how long it ran. You could use other things like cProfile time at PSUtil. I haven't ran Line Profiler, and to gauge a more true aspect of your code. Does that help? I think
Yes,
VS
very much.
I think VS Code has something built in too. VS Code to measure script um, processing and mem. Let's see. See what it has. See what it knows. Yeah, built-in tool profiler, dedicated extensions like Python Environment Manager. Yep. So once you do the PNV, you could probably do that too. If you're a VS Code bound person, I would definitely look into this. This makes more sense because the VS Code process will measure the process, and so you get like a not more true, but you'll get a output that's relative just to your code and not to something that's embedded in your code. That might be worth it. Yeah, time it comes up a lot. So time it is cool for time. Oh, there's a Memmit too. That's pretty cool. That's what's in Jupyter notebooks. Yeah, I hope that helps. And I hope that does show you that there's a difference between measuring how long it took and measuring the actual compute power and things that it did take to do, right? And there's certain places where you work that you'll want to do that all the time. You want to measure and test in testing or a dev environment before you take it to prod. And it's a good habit to get into, honestly. Great question. What else we got? You guys use Google AI mode at all?
I have that sidebar, but I've only accidentally clicked it.
Yeah. I find myself using this exclusively. Yeah. And I really use Notebook LM if I want to get serious about something.
Okay, that's my new favorite tool ever since you showed us on
Yeah,
day one.
it's pretty awesome. And it'll help you, I'm telling you, in your studies, it'll help you be if you put in the time, a couple of an hour to get to really understand it, how it works, and go through the tutorials or whatever, it'll really help you become a better student. It's fact, right? Super cool. And then you use like Google Colab for code and all kinds of stuff. So Google does a great job. I don't have anything negative to say about them. Their tools are awesome. A very liberal free usage on a lot of their stuff. And rightfully so. If you have to use a lot of horsepower, you should pay for it. I'm a firm believer of that. Yeah, but yeah, use it. I mean, look, I know a lot of the folks in this class have been using AI. Good. That's what it's there to do. It's there to be a sidekick, a guide, a helper, a tutor. You still want to gain creative control, and you want to use your critical thinking skills. And eventually, the more depth that you think of, and you use AI to guide you, the better your output will be. Don't fall in that, oh, I'm not using AI, they're stealing my life. Then put down your phone, stop using Netflix, get rid of your smart TV. I mean, come on. Like it's part of daily life. I mean, it ever since technology was unleashed, it doesn't replace us, it enhances what we do. That's the whole thing of information technology. It's an enabler. This is what this career field does. And if you're in this career field and you are a naysayer against AI, bad choice. Uh, is it going to be the panacea? Is it going to be the end all be all for everything? I don't think so. I think it's moderately overhyped, but and I think some of the management pieces of it's a different discussion, different course, but it was well thought out, but not with 100% security in mind. And using something that isn't 100% secure to do security, like Mythos and Fable and the latest Soul or whatever ChatGPT put out, like or OpenAI put out, um, using something that you have to contain somewhere because you can't let it loose in the wild, that's just very piss poor ethical choices, in my opinion. But that's like giving a toddler a loaded gun. It's just not a good idea. Well, this is the different thing about them relying on it or too hard, right? For a lot of things. Um, don't be that person. Like, take the time. If you're asking AI, think of it this way. If you think of the LLM as a large neural network, it has that neuron. It has that memory, which is nothing more than a node in a graph database. How come you don't have it? Because you never thought it yet. So you're asking things about something you want to know. It's doing the hard part. It is burning that neural pathway, validating the data, using submodels to do all this, and then displaying it back to you. And you did nothing. You didn't burn the pathway. Reading a book burns pathways. When you read a book about a scene and a character somewhere, you envision that whole thing in your mind. That is the beauty of being human, right? And the more things you read, the more experiences you gain, the more wilder your prompts will be. And if you're just using your prompt like that, so watch this. I'm going to show you guys how you should be prompting, right? Um, Generate me a prompt for an um, entry level cyber cyber analyst. Yeah, we'll say analyst. Analyst. And yeah, we'll just stick analyst. Analyst to pull IOCs from an email and create a table of IOCs as well as a KQL query. Um, be brief, do not lie, focus on the prompt tasks. This is what your prompt should look like. Not what I wrote, but this. This is your prompt. That should be your prompt. Is that cool?
That's cool.
AI is really good at doing things in lists, numbered lists. Now you could take this a step further and say, cool, with this prompt, if you can't complete one, do not do two. If you cannot complete two, do not do three. If you cannot do three, do not do four. And if you fail anywhere, tell me where you failed and why. Now, this is a prompt you could use over and over and over and over and over. Some people call it a skill. Some people add it to a tool. Some people build it into an agent. But the minute you start prompting this way, what I like to call a more critical thinking capable way, you give your job and your LLM guardrails confinement to only this is what you can do. You tell it, do not step out of bounds, do not lie. Do not use tools that I did not tell you to use. And by the way, here are the three tools you could use. That is control. Who in this class is doing that other than me? Well, now you know. Now you can. Now you will. That is when you start to go, oh, this is sick. This thing is doing exactly what I want now, and I know and I trust what it's giving me back. You gain trust faster than just treating it like an old school Google search, going, do you know if this is bad, and give it a picture of like a cut, right? Like this is control. This is how you should be thinking about leveraging AI. Pretty cool, right? And literally, you could just do that, like copy, do this, paste it here, and just rip it. And it'll do what it can. It'll probably fail on the email build. But boom, the raw email content you analyze. So it doesn't have any raw email content. You see what I'm saying? Looks like you pasted the prompt back to me, blah, blah, blah. Now, if we kill this session, go back and I don't know, just do OpenAI. We'll try this. Cool. I'll just do this. We'll test it here. Why not? Now, this is a prompt. It's not full, but we'll let it rip. It's thinking about something. What'd I do?
Oh, I think it's ready now because that arrow went to black.
Where'd it go, dude? It's bothering me. That's gross. I don't use this.
Yeah, because you have that massive box on your
Yeah, dude. But boom, rock and roll. It created. It did lie. It made believe a 192 address, evil domain, but it did the steps exactly. It says paste your email here, which I didn't, right? Because I didn't have one. But it made believe indicators of compromise. And here's the KQL query that you could use in Microsoft Defender or Sentinel or in Insert Sim here, right? So it did a decent job for making up stuff, you know. But the minute you tell it a role, it confines what neurons it's going to pivot to give you your answer. Now, if I change this to senior cybersecurity analyst and develop a bluff for executive or the executive suite, boom, the output would be different, right? So that's the power of learning how to use proper context engineering or prompt engineering. Cool stuff. That was a fun sidebar. What else do you guys want to pivot to? Anything else? Or are we done? We're gonna say our goodbyes, and you guys are gonna go out and do good things and crush the planet. I hope so.
I hope so too.
Oh, cool. I know you guys are ready. I want to ask the folks here, what are your aspirations? If you were to tell me what you want to do with IT, either for a hobby or for a living, what are they? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but I just want you to think about that. You can share if you want to.
I guess I can go first. So, I guess my aspirations is besides starting a family, I was actually told at work I need a computer science degree to get promoted to the next level. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that is why they set you up for that is because going pushing yourself formally through an education process of higher education or higher degree, it allows you to formulate your ideas more clearly, uh, verbally and on paper. And the more you move up the ladder or up the stack, uh, people don't have time to filibuster. You need clear, concise answers quickly that make sense. And being able to formulate your ideas repetitively in a clear communication status, that's a win, man. And the only way you can practice that is either put yourself in those positions in baptism by fire or go through higher education and you gain those skills. So makes sense.
Yeah. A little bit of both, but you pretty much sound like my boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's true because I had the same things told to me, and guess what? It's true. It's true. Um, and you'll hear people in IT. IT is kind of a wild crowd too because you have those that are self-taught, you have those that are certed, and then you have those that have formal education, and then you have people who have like all three or two of the three, and everyone's good. Like most people are really good, but others can articulate or clearly explain something to management. It's everybody has their own powerhouse of skills, right? I may not be the best coder or best analyst, but I'm a decent communicator. So I'm not saying I'm going to move up the ladder faster, but I'm going to be the guy who interfaces with, leadership more, perhaps. So there's pros and cons to everything, but it's fun. I mean, I played the team lead manager role for a while. It was fun. It's not that I couldn't do it. I love being a technician. I love being in the trenches. I love building stuff. I love solving problems. Um, that's where I play every day. Solving problems. It's fun. The music stuff though with tech, man, the sky's the limit there, man. There's so many cool devices for and software and sound modules, and it is awesome. Have you seen Strudel for music or electronica? I guess it's kind of anything. REPL, I think it's REPL. I might. This stuff is sick, dude. So you write live code and it plays it. If you check it out, you can do it yourself. I don't know if you could hear this, but and you could download REPL from their GitHub repo and have it locally on your machine. So you don't need to be connected to the internet and write your code in a browser. You can write it locally. Um, and they have, I don't even know how many sound effects samples. You can upload your own sample. You could do whatever you want. It is sick. A lot of cool videos um, on YouTube. A lot of really impressive people with Strudel. I was a hobbyist for a while. I really thought it was really cool. I'll put that in chat too, so everybody has it. One thing that I've never done, I've never checked out a Python Python music modules. I never even checked. Shoot, generate, manipulate music and sounds. Well, son of a gun. Do 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 do. Pygame simple playback. Yeah, I know Pygame does playback. I never heard of this. Lombrosa deep audio analysis. Cool. iDub for file editing. Music 21. Oh man, see, you just opened up a whole new world. Thanks for asking. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's super cool. That's all I listen to at work, like very EDM music and stuff. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I'm kind of interested in this now from the Python aspect of it. See, this is why we talk and share interests because you never know what you're going to stumble on, and it just gets fun. So this is why you got to go to those conferences and talk to everybody. Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm going to stop the recording. This is officially the end of my live sessions. Everybody who watches this video and made it to the end, do your finals. Take care.